I thought you were a preacher man now, Cole. I thought you knew how to handle a microphone.
It depends on where you're at. It's either on your ear, or it also depends on the sound guy. If the sound guy sucks, you kind of got to read the mic, kind of like you read the cow. Sometimes you need to have it out here, or down here, or up here, or right here.
My sound guy sucks. You got to have it real close. You got to have it real close. Have you done any preaching with Cole yet?
Well, I done a little preaching yesterday morning after a bull over there in a brush thicket, but it might not sound too good on this.
Okay.
Did y'all get the bull?
He's still out there.
Dang.
You had too much brush to hang it on him?
Mm-hmm. They're in that, Cole knows where it is, that Daggett trap.
Yeah.
If it ain't a mesquite, it's a cactus.
Yeah, it's bad.
So you're still over at Wagner's?
I'm not on anybody's payroll. I just go out there to help Cole. Chance gather bulls. We worked a couple of slicks yesterday morning that we had called up in that big water lot. Heath wants them worked if we can catch them.
So that's where the bulls were?
Mm-hmm. They was in the trap, and these slicks were in a big water lot.
Yes, sir.
We just hooked it on them and healed them.
Oh, so you got the slicks.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were they big?
Oh, that bull calf probably weighs 5, 6.
Did you run down the rope and jerk his tail over?
No. I had him by the heels.
Okay. How big is Daggett Trap?
Oh,
Couple 100 acres.
I was gonna say 100, but it's solid mesquite and cactus.
Yes, sir.
The bull will be right there, and you go around here to start him. He'll come around this way.
Yeah.
And then they'll get on the hook.
Yeah.
And so we finally, it's getting so hot, we finally just quit them.
Was it your, where's Chance at?
So that's what I was going to explain. A little over 2.5 years ago, we moved from the cow and camp that Wagner's bought, and when we moved, they hired my cousin Chance, and so nothing changed for Pawpaw, which is cool. Like, we were worried, when we were going to go to Anson and help Cody with the church, then we were worried about leaving him. That's what we didn't want to do, is him not be able to go ranch or do anything, and we were worried about what we were going to do with his horse and all that stuff, but the Lord works all things for good, so they hired Chance, and his horse got to stay there, and he still gets to go out there 2 or 3 times a week, just like he did with me.
Yeah, that worked out. That's neat.
Yeah, it did. And now then, they split that ranch. They have the east side foreman, Chance's the east side foreman, Kyle's the west side. And so Chance is over Fuldy, Little Six, Kite Camp, MacDuff over there. And they're going to try to work it where they can get through working quicker.
Are you going to run cow and camp while he's running the crew?
I told him I'd go out there and help, if they needed somebody to feed, or if he wanted to put out some mineral, if he had loaded, I'd unload it. But
that's a good trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to try this till the first of the year, or till they get through working this fall. Then Heath will decide if he wants to keep doing it, or put it back together, or change it. If he doesn't like, if Chance is not satisfied, or he's not satisfied, Chance will just go back to a camper. he can keep his. He got a little raise to take this over, but
Big operation.
yeah,
It's changed a lot over the years, hasn't it?
a bunch. They don't hardly ever get to make a drive. Andy, the helicopter man, will throw them in a trap the day before.
Andy Wheatley?
You know Andy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I got to ride with him when I was a kid. He helped us a few times with once with some Maverick cattle, but another time with some bucking horses that got out.
He's good. He's very good.
Very
And
good.
Nobody has to open gates or shut the gates. You just tell him, let's round Long Creek tomorrow. He's got GPS. He knows just exactly where to take them. Last year, he's been flying all morning, and he had tinkle, so he lit that thing and left it running. He got out, hung his foot on the seat belt, tripped him, and that put it in gear, and it took off.
He said he forgot to hobble his horse.
Forgot.
That was in what's that pasture right on the west side or east side of Fulda?
Yeah, brushy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It took off without him?
Yeah, he got out and we were just got through eating lunch and Brad got a call and it was down there when we were at Cowan's. Marley was cooking for the crew and I could tell Brad was pretty concerned on the phone. He don't ever really look concerned. And so I stood there for a second and he said, Andy crashed his helicopter. You know, and I'm thinking, oh gosh. Well, I said, is Andy all right? He said, I think so, but let's hop in that side by side and go get him. So when we got there, we were like, what happened? He's like, well, got out to take a leak, forgot to hobble my horse. I guess when he got out and the weight got out of it, it took off, and I think he tried to get in it or something, but he failed. I think it hurt him a little bit, hurt his ribs, broke some ribs or something. But
there too, I think.
It went off out there a little ways and crashed.
Dang. I got it. Before we get too much further, I got to give you all this. This is a silver round. That one's yours. Or you can hand that one to Pawpaw. That's an ounce of silver. It's got Dale Brisby's face on it.
Uh-huh.
How much is it worth?
Probably $75, $80. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can melt it down and sell it for $80. Well, you can probably sell it for more, not melted, but that's my sponsor, Texas Precious Metals. We made that coin. But anyway.
Thank you very much.
When was the first time they started using helicopters out there?
They was using them when I went there in 57.
Really?
Yeah, not much. Mostly in the fall when they was trying to get everything.
Yes, sir.
But in the spring, they didn't use them much except in them big brushy pastures. They'd help a little bit, but he stayed behind the Cowboys then, you know. He's just floating back there, and you see somebody having trouble, he'd swoop down. But there in the end, they just got to throwing them in a trap the day before.
Yes, sir.
But on account of the dense mesquite and cedar, you know, they just couldn't put enough men in there to gather those things.
Yes, sir. So it's always had some brush in a bunch of spots.
Ever since I've been there.
Yes, sir.
And they've been they pretty well spent $1 million proving that you can't kill a mesquite. But they've done a lot of brushwork and stuff, but it's still pretty bad.
Yes, sir. Yeah. What about where you're at?
Yeah, Wesley just had them spray my country. Thank God. It was brushy. Had a lot of regrowth and is real brushy. But I don't know. They got a new thing that they a new type of spray, I guess, or something. And man, it killed the crap out of it fast. Tordon Senderos, it's called.
Kill cactus also.
Yeah, it kills the cactus.
Yeah, we've been using Sendero. Yeah, it you know what you sprayed pretty quick.
Yeah,
Pretty quick.
yeah,
Why do the neighbors not like it?
yeah. Turns out if you get a little drift on the neighbors, and they have a ranch to hunt deer on.
Oh, they're hunting. They're hunting. Gotcha.
You know, I always thought if I owned a place and a drift
Right.
came, I might
Yeah.
call and ask what I could. How much do I owe you? Thank you, I
Right.
appreciate it. Y'all want
Yeah.
to come over for dinner? But if you have a deer ranch, I guess a little drift mess
Yeah.
your day up.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, sometimes them old crop dusters maybe like they want to make sure they get your line, they get the
Yeah.
next line a little bit.
Yeah.
Go over the line a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
That's crazy how good them guys are. Me and Hayes watched that guy fly, and I mean he gets right above him, right above them things, and that's how it gets down through them trees and gets that cactus because you can already see the cactus turn into yellow.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's killing the
Dang,
heck out
that
of
stuff must be good. I had my cactus sprayed just there in my horse pasture. It took like 2 years for it to die. Mm-hmm. And that guy spraying it on the 4-wheeler, he was like, "Hey, it's going to take a while." And I was like, "Dang, you must have just been spraying them with water." And
Yeah.
sure enough, 2 years later, they not only did they die, but it's like they evaporated. Yeah, they just disintegrated. You can't even tell they were out there. I figured there'd be a little more skeleton to it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it's gone. Looked like this carpet in here. They got
Yeah.
a lot of cactus out there, Wes?
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Bunch of it on that cow. But even the rest of the ranch, you know, I'd rather deal with the mesquites than I had the cactus.
Navajo don't like cactus.
No.
How old is Navajo? How's he doing? I haven't seen him in a while.
He's 23, but you know, he's like I am, he wore out.
Tell him, we never talked about that. Tell him about when you started Navajo and what he was like, and then you had him when you lived there, and then when you left, they let you take him, right?
Nobody picked him. You know, he was kind of wild there in the bunch. And
How old were you at that time?
I think I was 70. But they left him there in a week or 10 days when nobody was there. I just caught him and saddled him, going to ride him a little bit just to see if I could get along with him. And man, that thing was light-headed as you could just trot out there and pick up and he just squat. So I decided that I'd just try. He bucked one time that was pretty hard, or it was hard for me. Wouldn't have been for y'all, but and he just kept getting better. You know, first time I ever put him on a cow, cow turned back, he just picked that front end up and went and got her. But he's scared to death of a rope for years. Just
He still is.
yeah, Cold roped him round the flank one morning, but that didn't scare any of them.
If you walk out in there like when they would throw the remote up at the sixes, they would catch horses, and he'd just go to running. He hated it.
Yeah, something happened to him, I guess. But
Probably when you started him, you was in there roping him.
nah, I put him in the round pen, and just kind of chased him around there.
Is that when the round pen was still underneath the barn at Whiteface?
It was over there in that cutting barn.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That thing you had, I remember when I was little, I'd go in there. I don't remember who the bronc starter was at the time, but he was starting them in there underneath the barn, and you'd kind of have to, he'd have to kind of duck when
Yeah,
they got the
shed
bucket on that
pretty
one
low.
side. Yeah.
That's scary.
they had another round pen down on the west end of the corrals, about the size of this here. But I never did see anybody bump his head in there. But
Weren't you the bronc man at one time there?
when you say bronc man, you mean breaking them?
Yes, sir.
No, I've started one or two for myself, but they would send 2 or 3 guys over there every winter to put 30 days on those horses.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I was a supervisor over the whole thing, handling the studs, putting what stud with the mares. And there was about 800 cow resident herd that stayed there all the time. So we would hand breed some of them things back in the day. They AI everything now. But weaning, halter breaking, cutting studs, they have a vet come out now and lay them down.
Yes, sir.
And
How did y'all cut them back then?
we'd, in the early day, we'd just 4-foot them down there in the round pen, get them down.
You have to explain that to the public.
Yeah, explain to us what 4-footing them is.
Well, that's catching them. We'd hang a loop on the side of the round pen and run him around, and he'd step in it, then just tighten it up, and he'd go to kicking, trying to running into kicking. And if he'd stick a hind leg between them 2 front ones, boy, that was easy. You had him then, jump on him, but just to gild them, we'd just have a man or 2 on just holding them front feet and have a man on a horse or something to hold the back foot and not even do nothing to that bottom foot. It never did bother, but
That was kind of a almost like a day of it, rather like it would kind of an experience for everybody, wasn't it? It was an event, like to cut all those colts, kind of like whenever you brand in the spring, like your cows. It would be everybody get together and everybody help out, right?
Yeah, it'd bring in plenty of help, and some people just come to watch, but we could do it. They'd raise 30 or 40 gildings every year, and didn't gild them till they was 2-year-old, and didn't break them till they was 3. Now they gild them long yearlings, start riding them as 2s. Completely different deal, and they're so gentle now that, I mean, just to be around this halter broke when they was weaned. So
Did they were you guys as attentive to the genetics of those horses? Did you pay attention to the papers back then?
well, yes and no, I guess, because you would kind of, you knew what the good horses were in the remuda. And so if you could get a colt out of that mare, you know, that would work out pretty good sometimes. And some, as y'all know, full brothers can be completely different.
Kind of like the difference in Cole and Heath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
What about people? I always hear people ask you what matters more, the stud or the mare.
say that again.
People always ask you, is it better? Should you care more about the stud or should you care more about the mare as far as which
yeah,
one you like better? What does it matter?
I think it matters. I'd rather have the mare. He's with the mare more than, so they tend to, I think, pick up mare habits. She's real gentle stuff.
By he, you're talking about the colt.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Was
You are who you hang around.
yeah. Running off cow. Raised a running off calf.
That's good.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I heard with bucking horses too. I think it was Scotty Lovelace. I heard him say about 60% of what the horse is made up by the mare.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably an estimate, but that seems about right, I guess. Yeah. But they've always kind of shied away from just your campers and your day help using mares, right? You guys always tended to use geldings more.
Yeah, we spayed a couple of mares one time that we'd been riding, trying to make cutting horse out of them, and it didn't turn out. So we spayed them.
Really?
Thought maybe that, but
When you spayed them, did you feel like there was any difference?
I couldn't tell as far as just running them in the horses. They would still, even though they wouldn't come in heat, but they had a different smell or something during
Really?
the heat period time, because those geldings would just fight bad over them.
Huh.
And I know some places, the King Ranch, they've always rode mares and geldings together, but
Yes, sir.
we either didn't know how to do it or it didn't work. So, and we had enough geldings anyway to mount everybody.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's really one of the hardest things for a wagon boss to do is get them broncs rode.
Really?
You nearly got to, or at least I did. We'd pull up when they'd come out in the spring. Every evening we wasn't doing nothing, I'd pin them, make everybody get on, get them going, then open gate and just run everybody out. One boy, one time he was in there, I'd got everybody on and hid. There was just a log there, drag log, you know. He had picked that up and he was just kind of oozing it when I opened the gate and scared everybody. And they all went out the gate at the same time, and that log hung on the gate post and turned his saddle, and the wreck was on. Them son of a bucks. Some people, some of them got bucked off, some of them just run off. But
Yeah, that you sometimes open the gate on the first or second ride on a horse, wouldn't you?
there at the JAs, we'd ride them one saddle in the round pen, and the next day go out in the big pen, and then that evening we'd move them over there 2 or 3 miles to what we call the Buffalo Pens. They was right there to headquarters. And they had a round pen there and one square pen, but we'd go 3 rides outside and called the cowboys to come and get them.
Yes, sir.
But they
And they would
didn't
go
a
to the
whole
wagon?
lot of them. They didn't a whole lot of them, Bub. Especially the first day, them horses. They were 4-year-old and wasn't halter broke. They'd been caught one time when we weaned them, brand them, and then gilled them at 2, and then kicked them out up there in that number 1 there in the Paladura Canyon. It was 100 section pasture. And wouldn't gather them till they turned 4-year-old, you know. But they'd never eaten, they didn't know how to eat grain. We'd bring a bunch in, 8 at a time. And just put a little hay in a trough and sprinkle. They fed cubes in, sprinkle them. Of course, they jumped on it pretty quick, and this is in dead of winter, so they wasn't real stout. But
So you would put 4 rides on them, and then they would go to the wagon?
5, 3 rides outside and 2 in the corral.
And then they'd go to gathering cows on them.
Well, no, they'd ride them whenever they could.
They would just be on the. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they would just be out there.
But they went with the remote. You took them to the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They was with. And they'd be some evenings. People would catch them, but seemed like then to me they was more guys wanted to ride them than nowadays. They kind of let them slide by. They pen them things once a week up there now. Heath makes them. He's there. See how everything's going. If one of those JA horses, a bronc, got loose from you out there, I know I got off mine that first year, gonna get me a drink of water out of one of them old saltwater windmills, and he jerked it loose and got away. And it wasn't too far from the wagon. I just had to walk down there. And the next day, after they'd made a drive and brand, we kind of knew where he was. They took the whole remuda over there and run him out of that thicket and to the horses and got him back.
That's how you had to get him.
But it wasn't unusual for somebody to be loose all the time.
Dang.
Just running out there with your saddle.
Yeah. You always lose the blanket and hope the saddle's still on his back and not under his belly.
Dang.
But
Nowadays, when one gets buttered or does anything, he just goes right to another horse.
yeah,
Get wiped out.
one of these Wagner horses, they buck you off. They'll just stop and go to horses. Difference.
You said lose the saddle pad. When y'all were on the wagon all the time and never did go to town, and they probably weren't making them all the time, what did your saddle pad, what was it? What did it look like? What was it made
They
of?
had, their headquarters, they had Navajos that they had bought them double or single. You could get a double for $10 or a single for $5.
Did they give them to you when you worked there, or did you have to buy them?
You had to buy them or get you one in, just hair pad in town. But yeah, they had some kind of a deal with the Navajos out there. They ranch would buy them and worked pretty good. But
That's wild that you had to buy them. You'd think that'd be,
Well, they think, well, he may quit tomorrow. We ain't giving him that pad.
yeah. Yeah, I get that, I guess. I just, thinking about like a day worker, I get it,
Yeah.
but just the full-time guy. But, I mean, that's still the case these days. Everybody kind of buys their own equipment, but,
Everything's high. I know that.
right? Yeah, saddle pad these days, a good one, like,
$100 ain't or more.
oh, shoot, you can get, that'd be a $300 pad. Those
Double Navajos.
those expensive, like with the pads in it, with the gel in it, they can get upwards of $350. Yeah, I mean, you can get just kind of a run of the mill one for $100. But you're talking about when you say Navajo, it's not. It's more of just a little blanket, right?
Yeah, it is. Them doubles. Good, thick,
Yes, sir.
big. I imagine this 33 or 34 inches big. But
Did you ever ride the bronc for 'em at the ranch rodeos?
I never did. I was done wore out when that started in 81.
Yes, sir.
I was on the team one time, but I didn't get to do no skilled events. I just had me brand
Yes, sir.
the calf.
I knew you rodeoed, so I didn't know if maybe they wanted to lean on you for the bronc riding part.
Well, they never mentioned it, and I didn't bring it up. But
You have, haven't you?
Yeah, not very good.
Yeah.
When I was 18 or 19 and stuff, I would go and do pretty good, especially pulling a night latch. But then I kind of went rodeoing with everybody and rode saddle broncs and got that figured out. And then Zane left Wagner's. He was the bronc rider, a really good bronc rider. And I thought, well, I don't want to let him down. I feel like I'm kind of the guy that needs to try to do this now. So I thought, well, I can do it. And I remember we went to Fort Worth, and I thought, I'm fixing to, you were there.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to give it to this sucker. I'm about to be back in the game. One jump later, I was out of the game.
Yeah, that was on Cowboy Channel.
Yeah, everybody saw it.
Yeah, that it's so different than saddle bronc, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't know. Just kind of let them start, looks like the thing to do for me. Or like I reached up there and got a hold of him, and stupid Wakefield texts me. He said, you don't have to mark them out, you dumb da-da-da-da-da-da. But I think just let them start, just kind of like at home, if we're riding along talking and he blows up, your legs are straight. And I don't know. But there's some guys that are really good at it. But yeah. And then I think, too, I was mad that night. I called Jacob Lewis. He's like, man, your knot latch is like way too tight. And I got to thinking about looking at his, man. It's like a half a foot off his swells, and he can jump under it.
Oh, dang.
And it takes
and
a
get
lot
his
of
hand
that.
up there a little closer to
Yeah,
his
it's kind of
hips.
like a cranking his elbow over,
Yeah.
over his hips, and that helped a little bit. But, yeah, I couldn't do it. It's not something you just, I guess, you jump back into. I don't know. But then the next ones we went to, you had to hold saddle horn, and lost it, fell off again. So Heath and Brad, they fired me. They were like, man, you just need to just ride your broke horse. I said, okay.
Who rode it after you?
Jacob, thank God.
Nice. Yeah.
He can ride him.
I don't have any desire to nod for a ranch bronc, but I feel like it's a knife fight, or like a fist fight if saddle bronc's a boxing match.
I don't know. Some of them guys, Colton Mayo and Wesley's brother and Jake Botcha, Colton Burnett, man, them guys kind of make it look like that's one. Well, I would watch them, when I thought about going back, and I was like, heck, they kind of, Colton rode saddle broncs and all that stuff. I thought maybe I can do it. I couldn't do it. But they make it look not like a knife fight. But then, the guys that don't do it like they do, it does look a little rough.
It's getting more and more popular, it seems like.
Yeah.
Some of those rodeos, when they don't get a lot of entries in broncs or bears, like throw in a ranch bronc riding at a lot of amateur stuff. And I know Stockyards has it every weekend. And there's a lot of guys starting
Filling up.
Yeah, that'll come get on a ranch bronc. But glutton for punishment, I guess. I feel bad for them when I see them, especially guys starting out. They just probably been on some horses at the house and think that, it's going to feel a certain way. But, man, you put a flank on them bucking horses, and that's different.
Yeah, and they're strong. They buck.
It's different.
You see a lot of them that start, too, like they don't, ask. Ask and learn.
Yeah.
Something like, don't be scared to ask. Like, go ask one of those guys that are good. Like, hey, I don't know how to measure my rein. Could you show me? I'm going to Fort Worth this weekend. Or like, hey, this is my saddle. We got send a picture of your saddle to Colton Mayo and say, will this work? And because sometimes at those things, I'll see it on TV.
Man.
I'm like, why'd you ride that saddle?
Right. Yeah. And guys will be. Yeah. That's a little too proud to ask.
Yeah. Just go ask. Shoot, if you want to do something, learn how to do it. Ask somebody who's good at it.
Right. That is one thing I feel like rodeo cowboys are better at is asking.
And I see this too. Like, them stock contractors will say, give them X and 4. And I'll say some of the stock contractors probably aren't real honest with the ranch bronc guys like they are the saddle bronc guys. But they'll be like, hey, he's going to take a lot of rain, give him double X. And they're like, hey, no, I ain't doing that. And they'll like give them an average and get jerked down or whatever. Like, might listen to them too or learn how to measure it. But
I feel like a ranch stock contractor would be liable to just lie because he doesn't know before he was dishonest on purpose too.
Yeah.
But I do remember, like, there's been some stock contractors, like, when I was younger, that they did not like ranch bronc.
Yeah.
That back cinch and the back of that saddle, just fits a horse different.
Yeah.
But then I think it got to where there were so few bears and bronc riders that they had to come around to it, But I don't know. And then on the flip side of it, shoot, if the horse can't take a bigger saddle, then maybe he shouldn't be rodeoing anyway,
Yeah.
But I think it's neat to see guys craving it. But
I think it's always been pretty cool, and they've had pretty good ranch bronc riders like in Arizona at that Cowpunchers thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when it kind of seemed like, and I may be completely wrong, but when it seemed like it took off down here with everybody was when they had the Tom Butler Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
They had like each stage of, I got on like in a youth stage, and they had some youth broncs, and then they had to open, I think they called it or something, and I just remember and you had to freehand, and if you blew a stirrup, no score, and it was all the same rules of the Cowpunchers, I think. But, and I remember when I was little watching the 3 guys that I loved watching, or 4. One of them was from Arizona. I think his name's Miles DeWitt or something. He was really good. And then Tailgood, Brad Good's brother, that sonbuck could ride him. And Mark Voss had a wild vest. I just remember he could ride him pretty good. And then Pat Butler.
Yeah.
He had a huge duckbill horn with a star on it, and he would ride the crap out of them. But I think that kicked it off down here. I think, but I think
will
they're
say,
having another one of those this year. They're going to kind of bring it back.
At Dickens?
I think it's at Canadian.
Canadian. Interesting.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I think that the ranch bronc riding, though, the one thing that is just like the Bears and the Broncs is if you got 12 guys entered in a perf, let's say you fill up a perf, there's a couple that crave it and you can tell it.
Yeah.
Like they love it when the gate is open. And then there's a couple that are finding out, but then there's even more that are like, can't wait for it to be over.
Right. Yeah.
They want to have ridden a bronc.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, if I was getting on a ranch bronc, that's how I would feel.
Yeah.
But I think it's the guys that you gotta crave the actual fight, the actual bucking.
Yeah.
That to for it to last, you know. It can't be an adrenaline thing or just something that like you get to say you did and that's why you're doing it. Because that's the same thing. We've known guys like that in rodeo.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta want to do it, and you're gonna get hurt, and it's not gonna be easy, and it's not really easy to learn. But when you learn it, it's pretty good.
I just hate for guys to feel like they have to
Yeah.
be a cowboy. You know, like I got to check this off the list.
I
Like,
think also you're kind of seeing though there's more and more not thinking that way. They're like, dang, I can be a pretty good horse trainer and stay healthy and
yeah,
or whatever. You see a lot of people are handier. We were talking about that a while ago. I was like, before you came in here, I said, what are you going to talk about, Wes? And he's like, let's talk about what a cowboy is. And I was like, well, it ain't the same today as it was when you were. So it's just
what do you think a cowboy is, Wes?
It's a guy that works for somebody else. He rides somebody else's horses. He works somebody else's cattle. He lives in somebody else's house. And when he gets so old he can't do it anymore, he'll just have to move to town. He hadn't been able to save enough money to buy a house, but because they don't pay enough. You look at coal, it's different now, but they'd send him 200 calving heifers.
500.
And that's stressful work, you know, and last about 2 months. When you get through, there's no compensation. Are they? Did they pay you extra to do that? And then you go right into branding. That's another stressful month or two. And you're going, 24/7. But you get through with that, there's no compensation for doing that, and then they'll decide, this summer, well, let's redo them corrals down there. Some of the boys, like Cole's a good welder. He'd go down there and burn them irons up 5 or 6 hours a day, redoing that. If he's in town running that, how much can a welder make? $30 an hour? But there's no compensation for that. And what I'm trying to say, I'm not criticizing the ranch. I would never, because I've done it all my life myself. They'll say, let's start them 2-year-olds. Well, you know what? A regular 2-year-old starter gets $1,000 a month. But, it's just, and most
You ride him 7 years.
Cowboys would just soon start theirs. But, of course, now the ranch, they furnish a house, probably, I don't know, in this country, and I'm just guessing, would $2,000, $2,500 a month for a cowboy, and they furnish beef, but back in my day, there wasn't no 401ks or something. And they'll furnish a little bit of insurance. But what I'm trying to say is the ranch owners getting a pretty good deal. And I don't mean that as criticism. You know, we'd do it probably for nothing if you could live on nothing. And it's the old houses back in my days, you know, wasn't no much. The roads wasn't much. I remember when Marley had to ride her horse out, cold leader out to the pavement when the road was muddy, just so she could get to work and help pay a few bills. But is that wrong?
No,
I think
I'm going
this,
to go
though,
with whatever you say. So
Yeah. So I would say this. So first thing I'll say is the Word of God says that we need to store up things in heaven, not things on earth, so we can make a bunch of money here, and the Lord wants us to do good here, and if you're wealthy, that's good, and all the things, and if you're not, that's good, whatever. But looking back, all those Sundays and Saturdays, going through them heifers and doing all that stuff and burning all them rods and all of those things for no more pay and or whatever, like, it taught me something, you know. It taught me to stay, and it taught me to work hard, and then you know, the Bible says to don't get tired of doing good. Like, don't get tired in doing good, and God will act. So one of these days, you guys that are doing all that, and you guys that are hustling and burning rods and not getting paid anymore, one day you might be blessed and have your own place. And thank God you learned how to weld on their pins, because now theirs are probably falling down because you just started welding and you sucked. But now that you got good at welding on their pins, you can build your own pins and have a really nice place. So it taught me something all along the way. And I think if you can zoom out and see the big picture, I'm thankful for all of that. And same as taking care of the cow. But you're dang sure right on the ranches. Like, I just started working for them a couple of years ago for the Smith cattle, and they give you a beef. Mm-hmm. It costs me nothing, and which is awesome. If you're going to take care of 1,000 of their cows, they ought to give you a beef, I think, and I'm thankful for that. And that helps a bunch. It costs a lot. What does it cost to get a beef processed? Feed one and take it and all that. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so. But a lot of ranches, this is the first one, Sixes would give us a beef, I think. I think they'd give us a half twice a year. But the other ones I worked for, you know, they would, maybe T4s did too, but at Wagner's it come out a little bit. But that helps a family more than anything, is to have some beef. And then the temper, you know, like he was talking about a guy starts a colt for 1,000 or 1,200, and now it's like 1,500 or 2,000 a month for 30 rides, the guys that are really good trainers. And, yeah, like there at the ranch, that was always kind of hard for me to ride 2 or 3 extra colts, and then you'd ride them for 2 or 3 years, sell them, and get 10%. You know, you're like you're losing. But it's a great place to raise your kids and raise your family, and stay out of trouble, learn how to work, and do all the stuff too. Like, it's kind of a win-lose. I don't know if that's kind of what I'm trying to say. But I wish the ranches would figure out, because all it's done though, it's really growed cowboys. Like, you see all these guys that went out on their own, and they know how to take care of yearlings and buy yearlings and trade cattle and do this and do that, and they're killing it and training horses and selling horses for a bunch of money. And it kind of made the cowboy kind of have to go figure out how to be a little bit better himself. I think them guys that are good hands, that used to be good hands on big ranches, are really good hands now on their own and doing well for their family and well for their people and their pocketbook. But I just, so that the big ranches don't die, I wish that they would figure out like something where cowboys would want to come to work there. Like, I've had someone call me the other day and was like, "Hey, look, everybody wants a job here, but when I tell them you can't bring your own horses, they hang the phone up. What do we do?" And I was like, "Well, pay them more when they ride a horse for eight months or 8 years, and then they sell it, you're gonna have to give them more of the money because they made the horse. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of tough.
Yeah. Or maybe make it where they can at least bring a kid horse.
Something.
But-
And some of them do that. Wagner's was good about that. You could bring a kid horse or something. And
Yeah.
Brad was real good with us, and Heath letting us do that. And
It's a double-edged sword, you
Yeah.
know, like you said.
like
because,
everything.
well, like I get young people in here. I have what's called an intern program. You know, when we were at the arena a while ago, there's a lot of young kids.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are 22, 23, and they show up here and they've never ridden a horse. And I've probably had by now somewhere between 40 and 50 of those kids come through, young men come through that program, and a few young ladies. And most of them don't realize they want to be cowboys and cowgirls, but most of them don't realize how tight margins are everywhere, you know, and it's hard to just go buy cows and make money.
Yeah.
It's hard to just go be a cowboy and support a family
Or buy a horse.
or buy a horse. And by the time you put a spare tire on your trailer and
Yeah.
get there and you show up to the day working day to make 175, you know, you're 260 in the hole before you get there, you
Yeah.
know, and so a lot of them do have a little bit of a wake up call after a few months of realizing like, oh dang, you dang sure better love the work.
Yep.
And I'm not saying there's not ways to be unique
Yep.
or, you know, and creative and, you know, like you said, trade some yearlings and sell the horse you're riding as your day working, ride an outside horse. There's
Yep.
all kinds of ways. Shoe some horses, get a side hustle and shoe some horses of an evening. But for the most part, it's hard work for not very much reward.
Yep.
The reward is the work. And so if you're having to burn rods and not making any extra cash, a guy needs to realize that like this is really hard. A lot of young people realize, oh, I can work this hard at something else and make double the money.
Yep.
You know, and once they finally get their mind wrapped around that, a lot of them do leave.
Yeah.
But the ones that love it so much they don't leave, those are the ones that I think end up being a cowboy,
Yep.
like you said.
Yeah.
And they don't have to pay for a truck or a trailer or horses or house too. That's all good things that cost a lot of money. And
Yeah.
How do you quit? I've been trying to quit for
Well,
10 years.
I think that's what makes you a cowboy, is because it's never crossed your mind whether the money was there or not. This is what you're going to do no matter what. That's how passionate you were. It wasn't even an option in your head to quit. You couldn't imagine being a CPA in town.
I measured farmland there in Donnelly County when I left the JAs. The government was paying them old cotton farmers so much an acre to not plant. And I'd go out there, they'd show me, and then I'd measure it off and go back to the office and put it on the map. But,
did you get rich?
oh Lord, no, I don't, man. But we was working by the hour, I think. But what those farmers could step that off theirself without a chain or a wheel. They knew exactly how wide those rows was and how long. And they, of course, the government wouldn't take their word for it, but they could just about show you where to stake it to get 35 acres fenced off. But I didn't last very long there. I went up Wesley's country, the Canadian River Land Cattle Company. Stayed a little while. There's Brandon. I was trying to think of that guy. I bet you know him. I think he's passed on. Johnny Cavett. Didn't know him. His 4-year time, but they was big. They run a wagon.
What made you try that farm deal?
I don't know. I didn't like the walking, that's for sure.
If you like your legs covered whenever you're riding, rodeoing, ranching, or dancing a jig at the honky tonk, I hope you'll go to rockandrolldenim.com and use code DALE for 15% off. These are the only jeans I've ever worn, and they're the only jean I'm ever gonna wear. Rockandrolldenim.com, old son. What's up, bro tater chip? If you're trying to get swole-o-matic like Dale Brisby, then go to mountainops.com and use code DALE for 20% off. That's where I get my protein, my creatine. I use a pre-workout called Yeti that is phenomenal. They've also got your everyday energy called Ignite. So go to mountainops.com. Otherwise, you ain't no cowboy. And please use code DALE. When you were on the wagon, or in the bunkhouse, what was the culture like back then? Were mostly guys Christian and had a clean mouth, or was sometimes it rougher? What was it like to be around the campfire of an evening back then?
Well, I'm gonna say they was very few Christians, but I don't know that. CH was. He was the boss there at JA's, but yeah, they were, most of them was good guys, but once in a while there'd be an argument, but really the JA's and Wagner's is two different kind of ranches. The JA's, everybody stayed at the wagon. And the meal was beef, gravy, beans, and taters cooked on Dutch oven. He had an open fire pit that he'd get coals to run the Dutch ovens, but there was no eggs, no bacon, no ketchup, no preserves of any kind. The sweets was Burr Rabbit syrup and peanut butter and sourdough bread. And that's what you had 3 times a day. Every day that thing was out, and they'd pull out early in the spring and stay till about Thanksgiving. Dang. The cook, they pulled that wagon, 4 big horses, and the cook had to drive them. That was part of the cooking job, to drive the chuck wagon. And then they had a couple big persons to pull the hoodlum wagon. He had 4 wooden barrels of water and little extra stuff for the cook. And then somebody drove the bed wagon. They just had a couple of old, saddle horses that they made workhorses out of to pull the bed wagon, and generally the low man on totem pole got to drive it when you moved, and the first thing when you'd move camp, tear that fly down, get to the first thing that went up was that fly. And the second thing that went up was the rope trail. Every time. And now I can't, when we'd go to the river or down Paladura, we'd be down there 3 or 4 weeks that you might not get to go to town unless you got hurt or something and they hauled you to the doctor. But
Unless you're dying.
They had 10,000 cows is what they tried to carry. I know that from being a wagon boss there, and they'd bob them tails every other year. That's the way they would keep up with the count. Just cut the tassel off, and then every time you rounded that pasture or whatever, if you got a long tail, you'd counter it. And when they throw the herd together in the spring. If you was branding, they separated the cows and bull calves from the cows and the heifers. They went different directions. Sometimes, they just say cows and bull calves, leave them here and move the heifers because they wanted all. And then when we got through branding, they'd go through all them heifers and cut the keeping heifers on the cows. And had a place up Mulberry there that they run them till fall, till you could wean them. And a lot of them wound up at Ashtola up there in the winter. But I know one year they pretty well just sell them calves right off from the cow in the fall. But before I left, they got to keeping them through the winter. I know we had 2,000 up there at Ashtola. The train company made up a special train, 40 cars, and we shipped them to Medicine Bow, Wyoming, up there. But
40 cars, 2,000 head.
If I think that's what it was.
Yes, sir.
And but I don't know if that 280, the stock pens is right there on 287, right west of Clarendon. And the railroad was on the other side. So that old train driver, he'd have to hook on and just back how many cars that spur would hold. And we'd load them, and he'd pull up. But they get the highway patrol to come out there and stop all that traffic till we'd get a train loaded, and then they unloaded those cattle at Rawlings, Wyoming, and drove them down there Medicine Bow. And we went back in the fall to ship them. But we stuck a cowboy in that caboose, old Jay Niles. He went with them, throwed his saddle in. I think I think 36 hours at that then was long as you could haul one without unloading, watering them. And they got up there about 30 hours, Jay said, and they asked him, we're supposed to unload and feed and water these things, but we'll be there in 3 or 4 more hours if you don't. You know, Jay said, man, ain't no way they could, just with that railroad crew, that they could unload 40 cars, load them back. So they went on into Rollins.
Did he take his horse with him or no?
No, they had them people that summered the yearlings furnished him a horse.
Dang.
Monty picked him up there in Rollins. That's the owner, he had a plane. And they got down to Pueblo, come back, got in bad weather, so Monty, he put Jay on the bus. I'll stay here till the weather clears up and come in tomorrow. But when we went up there that fall, we didn't drain the radiators or nothing. And we was there 2 or 3 days gathering and shipping, couple of days, I guess, and started home, the old truck running hot, and we'd nursed it away and finally got down to Lamar, and there was an elderly gentleman with us. I found a place to leave the truck and horses till he could get it fixed. It had a busted block, turned out to be. And there was 5 of us. So we left him, and then we was in just a single cab, 4-wheel drive pickup, and it's cold. We all piled in there, had one kid rode in the back a while till he got cold. And we got down to Boise City, Oklahoma, and I could see this big flashing light. And I'm thinking, my God, bad wreck up here. Got up there, and it said, so-and-so, coldest beer in Oklahoma. So we pulled in there, and all of us beered up. Started on in. We rolled in to Paladura about daylight that morning. But it was a heck of a deal.
When he said rope corral, that first time I went to the Sixes with your dad, were you there? Was it the first year or the second? You weren't there the first
No.
year. Oh, okay.
No, it was college.
I had
Rodeo.
that horse Dabber, and there was a rope corral, and they brought him in, and he come in, and I mean, it was probably 75 horses in there, something like that, and he did not want to go in there, and he peeled off, and your dad yelled, and he was like, if he don't want to come in here, leave him out there, you know? Well, then he ran by and clipped the fly, and the corner of the fly fell down.
Oh, my gosh.
And anyways, that was it. He just kept, and then the next day, he didn't know whose horse he was, you know? And then the next day come in, and he did come in, and so I rode him the next day. I was leading him out, and I said, I don't know whose horse this is, but I guess I'll ride him. Your dad just looked at me, but that was amazing to me that they would even go in a rope corral. I felt like, looking back, like I remember it being about the size of this room with 75 horses in it. Mm-hmm. The way they just piled in there with just a nylon rope around them, that blew my mind. That was in like 2014.
Mm-hmm.
That was 12 years ago.
Yeah. When I went to the Wagners in 2016, Jimbo Glover was the wagon boss still, and they had the horses across the highway to the east of headquarters there, and Daly and them, they'd get around all them things, and they had a rope corral that just stayed up all the time there. It was pretty cool. And they would them older horses go right in there. That's how they caught horses, load them on the trailer, and drive back across the highway.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, your dad walked, talked, and acted just like my dad. I loved it. Yeah, I miss seeing Reggie. Where's he?
He works for Wesley. He's
Oh, he
chilled
does?
out. Yep.
Oh, cool.
He's part-time. Tends to the Taylor Camp cows and
Nice.
feeds it, and
So you get to see him.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and he drives road raider for us. Thank God we got good roads now finally, and
Nice.
he'll probably
So your mom gets to see the boys all the time, I bet.
yeah. So yeah, with the place that we bought, they built a house on the backside of it, so
That's awesome.
we'll all be right there.
Good. That's fun.
Yep.
And then how far is west from y'all?
Long dang ways. We're
About
trying to
100
get him to
miles.
get one of those ready-built cabins, put it on the compound.
Oh, that would
But
be good.
oh yeah, it would be great, wouldn't it? Huh? We could put Pawpaw's place right there on top of the porch.
Pawpaw's got a place.
You're too busy ranching. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the rope too yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
When's your birthday, Wes?
November the 20th,
And you'll be
93.
93.
I can't hardly say it.
I always say, "You been feeling good?" He goes, "I ain't real sure how you're supposed to feel at 93. I guess so.
Man, one of the more, this is our second conversation. One of the more popular thing, it was so funny. That story you tell about walking into that bar at Elko and that guy asking you, he said, "Are y'all looking for buckaroo jobs?"
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And what'd you tell him?
Cowboy, we're looking for cow punching.
We're looking
Yeah.
for cowboy jobs. He said, "You looking for buckaroo jobs?"
Old Herschel. It took us about 3 days to get there.
Is that the Indian
Huh?
that you rode up there with?
Yeah, he had.
And he left you.
Yeah, he just worked one day there. That place.
And didn't you mailed your saddle back?
He was part Indian. He got head rights from one of them Indian tribes up there in Oklahoma.
Mm.
He was a good cowboy, but
He didn't care for Nevada, though.
well, I think he died. He worked for Ed Ashurst out there in Arizona and talked about him, but he's one of them guys that had worked there. Actually, on our way up there, we stopped in Trinidad and called that Ted Turner outfit, but they had just got through branding. Ted didn't own that thing then, but so we just kept it going. But we was really wanting to lay around town a couple of days when we got in there and got cleaned up. But man, that bartender called Doe Givon and he said, "I'll pick y'all up at 4:00 in the morning." So we had to go to work.
What's your favorite story of Wes's? Fondest memory, I guess, maybe.
I don't know. There's been a bunch of them, but
With you and him.
I really like the time. I could think of a bunch of them, but this one just came to mind because I told somebody the other day. But he won what was the award you won in Lubbock? The Golden Spur, the Working Cowboy Award or something?
Yeah.
he won that award, and they're like, so it's a cool deal, cool award. Of course, he was aggravated that he won it. And anyway, he's like, you have to talk too. You got to give a speech. You know, he didn't want to do that. And anyway, we were picking up slicks, and I had a horse named Moose. It was pretty cold, I think. Anyway, he's pretty tight all the time, wanting to buckle, especially in the wintertime. But we just got on our horses. I just tightened his saddle real tight for him, and he was riding. Navajo was a little crippled or something. I can't remember. So he's riding one of mine, you know, which are not very good horses. And anyway, I get on mine, and he's tight, and I'm trying to get going right there. And we just fed some cake right there, and we were just gonna try to slip it on this yearling we missed. And my phone rings, and I answer it, and it's my Aunt Tracy, his other daughter, my mom's sister. And she says, "Hey, that thing is this weekend, that big award deal. Maybe you don't let Wes rope anything this week." He's over there tying his horn knot on. And I was like, I think I probably told her, okay. And I was trying to get off the phone because cows were eating the cake and my horse was trying to buck me off. And he was going to have first loop because I was riding that Colton. Anyway, we get off the phone, and I said, that was Tracy. She said, you probably don't need to be roping this week so that you can get to that deal in one piece and talk. And he's never looked up. He's putting his horn knot on. He said, I was just thinking if I could get this SOB to fall on me, I wouldn't have to go down there and speak this weekend. And I mean, when he said that, he took off after that yearling, and I went with him. My colt was I was just kind of hawing, and I'm laughing at what he did. And that horse of mine would rope it. He was, I mean, knocking the tracks out of this thing, and his rope his loop got around his leg. So he's just riding, and he's looking down, and I'm riding my colt and trying to haze a little bit, and he's looking down at the deal, and that horse is knocking the tracks out. And there's a little creek coming, you know, it's about 5 foot deep, but about 2 foot wide. So everybody's going to jump it, you know. I just screamed, "Creek!" And he's messing with his rope, and he looked up and saw that creek, got hold of the saddle horn, and that horse jumped it like it's a Grand Canyon. And when he came out on the other side, his loop was off of his leg. He took one swing and hooked it on her. And I just laughed so hard because Tracy had just told us, like, maybe y'all don't rope this week. So we were always doing something like that. He'd always get back there, foot back or something. I'd rope some of them bulls off the feed line, like with the rope tied to the trailer. I would just hula hand them while they're eating cake. And it's so brushy, you couldn't, if the pins were too far away to walk on. I'm not really into walking bulls very far. So we would just catch them off the back of the trailer sometimes, and then I'd heel them and then tie a front leg up in the trailer, and you could let them up, untie them, or let them up, and they'll usually, there's gentle Angus bull, they'll just get in the trailer. But he'd always get down there and trying to get stuff, and something would get up and scare the crap out of me. I'd be trying to make sure he wouldn't get runned over, but we were always kind of getting into it, little mouth wars about him getting ran over and didn't want him to get hurt. And
Yeah.
he would always say, well, he ain't going to hook me.
Yeah. Not like those old Herefords used to, probably.
Oh, man. Them Herefords get you.
I like the memories with you were fun with Hayes. It was right when Hayes started being able to go, and Pawpaw would lead him a lot of times, and I'd have to make a big jerk or go do something, and them two just talk and go.
Dang.
It was
That's neat.
big blessing, and
Yeah.
he'd always have a bag of Skittles for him, and we'd go feed in the pickup or whatever that looked like. But we're at church, we're in a summer series called Summer and Psalms, and Cody and I have been swapping out, going through Psalms in no particular order or anything like that. But next Sunday I'm doing Psalms 128, and at the end of it, it talks about being able to see your children's children.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it's pretty cool that Wes gets to work with his children's children's children.
Children's children.
So it says those that get to do that are highly blessed.
That is. Man, that's cool, because otherwise you kind of need to have, like, just a deadhead, you know?
Yeah.
If he was
Yeah,
if he was 3 years old,
Yep.
you know, you can't leave him.
Yep.
you'd have to have a deadhead horse, but then that's the same kind of horse that can't make it.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you just need a gentle horse.
It was
'cause he could
perfect too
lead
because
him.
he's at the age where he's smart about where he's going to fall off something or go do something and so like it was neat to see. It kind of taught me like you're going to have to pull up, pay attention, and slow down a little bit because I would watch how he took care of Hayes leading him and the decisions he made of where they were going to go off of something or go up something. And I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just
I can
something
see
I'll
that.
never forget.
Yeah, I can see you needing to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you probably try to climb this wall.
And now, see, that's why we're trying to get Pawpaw's place over at the compound at Anson because we got Holden and Holden's going and he's fixing turn 3 and I'm having trouble. Now Hayes is just running and gunning and ranching and firing out and here I am having to lead Holden around. So we need Pawpaw over there to lead him around.
Yeah, dang. It probably wasn't that long ago you feel like you were having to lead Cole around like that.
Yeah. Cole was ornery when he was little.
I bet that's right. What were you as surprised as I was when Cole turned to preaching?
Yeah, I was. I never seen that coming.
Yeah.
I never did. Actually, I thought it was his just putting on a show there, try to get Marley back. She was about to leave him.
Yeah.
I'll straighten up a few days here and she'll come back. But turned out he's doing a heck of a job. You know, I didn't grow up in a church-going family. You know, in my young days there on the ranch, Dad was working 24 hours a day, or his own, in either fed in the winter with a team of mules, and in the hot summer he's doctoring screw worms. They was bad then, and at night he had a little gasoline engine. In some of those places, windmill didn't pump enough water. He'd go over there and just hook that gasoline engine up and hook it on a suck rod and just pump water all night and then go again. But I was always a believer. I just know there happened to be something, but it was there at Wagner's after I got married that a couple of them real good Christian men one of them worked with us, Cecil. He was cowboy that just worked around. And they was coming around, and the preacher was a good guy, but I remember when the kids was little, one of them would say, "Here comes the preacher." I'd say, "Get in the back room, don't say a word." And we'd hide from him.
That's funny.
And then I couldn't go to church for a couple of weeks because I knew they was going to tell him we was hiding from you when you was knocking the other day. But old Cecil and TJ and that preacher just stayed with us to kind of showed us the light, Like I say, I'd always been a believer, but I didn't know you had to make it public. And so me and my wife both joined that little old church. That is when I was 33 or 4, I don't know. And we was pretty good. You know, I was president of the Brotherhood. Everything went on several just preacher hunts. I don't remember what they called it, but it'd be 2 or 3 of us go to another town to listen to another preacher and try to hire him and stuff like that. But both the girls joined the church. They're both born again believers, and and I was going pretty regular at that cowboy church at Wichita, up until COVID, and everything shut down. So I'm just kind of go once in a while now.
You don't ever go to Cole's church?
I've been one time there. You just hadn't, not because I don't want to. Went here a while back, heard him preach at Albany.
I haven't heard him preach yet either.
Well, there at Albany, he pointed out to me what a sorry dad I've been raising. All the things he said we needed to done, I didn't done them.
Me neither.
Back when, but you know, when these ranches, all of them that I ever worked for in the early days, worked 7 days a week, and you just didn't have much time to. We was shipping cattle up on the big field there one day. Hazelwoods, that old man never married, and he'd been working there foreman for years, and we was trying to pen them or just move 3,000 head off from one big field into a smaller pier that we was getting ready to ship. And those things got up that gate and turned back, and away they went. All and Tony and the preacher was just happened to be riding with Tony he's riding with Cecil. They was up there. We'd make a big circle with them, get some in. Cecil said, Tony got out and went throwing up. Every circle we'd run about 10 pounds off from him, I guess. That preacher told Cecil, I'll go up there and talk to him. Cecil told him, I don't believe I'd do that. He ain't in no talking mood right now. So he wouldn't let the preacher. Hazelwood would let him have it, both barrels. But, you know, there's a lot of Christians there. Old Brad Good had really been good for that place.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's every one of those guys, or most of them that I know, is good church-going Christian. There's kind of a revolution going on.
How you feel about it, Cole?
Yeah, I think so. It's neat to see everybody that's changing. What'd you call it? A revolutionary? What do you call it?
Revolution.
Kind of a turn. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about everywhere, but just a lot of people seems like they're seeking the Lord. And I mean, ain't none of us perfect. The Bible says we've all fallen short of the glory of God. We've all sinned and fallen short, and Jesus came for sinners and died for sinners and lives again to say to sinners, you're forgiven, and, try to live according to the word. And and grow and be what you've called to be and what the Word calls us to do as fathers and husbands and leading our home and all of those things. And it's just neat to see at Anson. I mean, like, we have 2 services and we've been getting like 800 people a weekend in little old Anson, Texas.
Yeah, it's neat.
And it's not a, not a numbers thing, but just like people are seeking, and it's all about just somewhere where they want to bring their families, and got farmers and doctors from Abilene and cowboys and all kinds of people, every race, every color, all the things. And it's just, I just, just trying to, I don't know.
I think it's real similar to the ranch bronc thing we talked about. Like, you get a young cowboy and feels like that's part of the checklist of being a cowboy is to ride ranch bronc. And ranch bronc, it's not a very pure analogy, but if that's not where your heart is, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's got to be something you want to do. But I think that sometimes young people feel like, or young cowboys might feel like, being wild is part of the checklist.
Yeah.
And some people, you see it in their eyes, and it's just like,
Yeah.
like they feel like this is part of what it takes to be a
Yeah.
cowboy or whatever circle
Yeah, I thought
they
that
might
for a long
be
time.
in,
Yeah.
like rodeo or
Yeah.
maybe if they're in the music industry or football or whatever, but I it's neat to see when young people realize that they don't have to check that box.
Yep. Yeah, I hope my boys, that's what Marley and I pray over our kids all the time, is that they, and since they were babies, and even in the womb, we would pray that they would have a hunger for the Lord from a young age, that they would have a desire to understand the Word of God and to understand a walk with God, and that He does have plans to prosper them and not harm them, plans to give them a future and a hope, and and then prepare us parents too for the things that are coming in the world and the things that are going on, and just, I mean, you can get distracted. It's a crazy world that we're living in, but it's always been a crazy world that we're living in. If you don't think that, then just read the Old Testament, and the Bible says that nothing is new under the sun. And I just think, man, he said that when I made the swap, put you got to put your old self to death. Ephesians talks about it, and all throughout the Bible, the old you dies, and then you give your life to Christ, and you're raised to new life with Christ. And yeah, I needed to get Marley back for sure, but I had to stick it out for a year. Like, I had to seek God for a year. I think He was like, I've heard you say you're going to get right before, and it took a while. And it's just like, and the Bible says in Psalms 37, I think it talks about, He'll give you the desires of your heart. Well, if you're seeking God, you'll have the right desires, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. But if we're seeking the things of the world, He's not going to give us the desires of our heart. But anyway, I say all that to say, God worked a miracle in my life, changed my heart and my mind, and dang sure our marriage, and Marley's heart and her mind too. So it's all God and all the works of the Lord, and none of the works of me. I just told Him that I would be obedient and do whatever He wanted to do, and people started calling and to go share a testimony, and the Word says that we're supposed to do that, and I would go do that, and things opened the doors up, and here we are at Anson, and it says in Romans that all things work for the good of those who are called and according to their will, and that love God. And like we were talking about earlier, that the thing that just fell into place over there with Chance getting a job, it filled the gap that we were so worried there. Wesley coming into our lives filled the gap of, are we going to be able to afford our own place, keep paying for the bill, the mortgage, that we've never done that before. The ranches have always owned it. And I would just say, I think a lot of people are learning, like, faith is real, and you got to step out there and trust it, and trust that the Word is true, and that all things do work out for those who love Him and are called according to their will, and just go try to be good. And what's that podcast, that old guy? It's like the number 2 podcast in the world. He's got long hair, kind of like you. And what is his
Number 2
name?
in the world?
Like, he's a big time podcast dude, but just now finding Christ. But I mean, it's happening all over. I think it's just in the cowboy world and in the
Theo Vaughn?
Yes. Have you watched that?
Which one?
The one about where this guy called him as wanting to change. He's like, man, I'm just tired of this life, tired of how I'm living, tired of what's going on. And Theo was like, man, he didn't know it, but he was preaching the paint off the wall. And he was like, well, I used to pray for this, but he said, in there, he said, this is the point, I'll get to it. He said, I used to pray that God would change me. Lord, change me. And he talked about his past, his home life, and he said he loves his mother, had a good mother, but she never would look him in the eyes, never did have a relationship with him. So he said, so my worth was what you thought of me, or what Wes thought of me, or whoever I was around. That's where I needed that, because I never had that. And he said, so my prayer was, Lord, change me, change that. And then he said, but while I was praying, I would also know, kind of while I was praying, that I was probably going to go back to doing what I am doing anyways. That like I'm going to do what I'm praying God would help me not to do. And he said, and that taught me, he said, so then my prayer changed, like, I'm kind of lying to you, God, as I'm praying for this. And he said, so bottom line, basically what I'm saying is, do you really want to change? And Theo was saying, I'm tired of this life. Like I'm reliving the circle of my mom didn't love me and I wasn't this and all this. He's like, I'm tired of this life. And he said, it just comes down to, do you really want to change? And anyway, we can go down a big rabbit trail. But we just think our way is better, and we think we know everything, and people get like, well, Cole uses this and this and that, or we make our walk someone else's walk, and they led me to Christ, but then now they're the one that took me away from Christ. So like, it's your decision, dude. It's between you and the Holy Spirit, right? You and the Father, not between you and man. And that's where Theo was like, it comes down to, do you really want to change, and do you really believe that it will change you for the better?
Yeah, I've heard all sin is, at the core of all sin is that doubt of God's goodness.
Yeah.
And essentially, like, you're trying to achieve that goodness on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think we can, and that's just a lie from the enemy that many of us buy, that I bought forever. And the Lord worked a miracle in my home, and that's the only thing He ever does for me. I'm thankful, because it was enough for me to believe that. And then they don't stop. We get hate holding after that, and the Lord is good. Yeah.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for like you said. I want to say, that idea of checking boxes. I think it's like even just like a widely known report that like this current generation, it's like a substantially less amount of alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
It's like it's a crazy amount that's like affecting the alcohol distributors.
Production.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, it's just, anyways, and I'm not saying everybody that stops drinking is all of a sudden a Christian, but
right.
or vice versa. But
yeah, vice versa. You can be a Christian and drink too.
For sure. Yeah, but to me, anyways, the point is like, I think that, getting to see a little bit of the revival and revolution, but I think the internet will help that too. The internet's just unbiased, I believe. Like, it's got its flaws that the humans put into it. But it's been neat to get to navigate on my side of things, to see not only the industry change, but also see Christians. It's easy to get super divisive, and on everything's a little bit polarizing right now with politics. But I'm excited where it looks like and appears as though, God is moving in a direction. But it does take people being bold and stepping up, like yourself being a preacher. And, that's a big life change for you.
Phew.
And you've always been, I think, as long as I've known you, a believer. But, seeing you take a step of faith essentially away from cowboying and towards ministry, that was bold, I think, and courageous. And so, anyhow,
I couldn't do it without him and the people that he's placed around me. So I'm thankful for Cody and all of the people and even Papa. We've talked about the Lord all the time, and it's just a choice that people got to make, and it can't be your mama's walk and your daddy's walk, and it's got to be your decision, and all the answers are in them Bibles right there. And if you don't understand it, open it up and pray to the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, you're my teacher. Please let me understand this word. I want to be different. I want to be whatever. Be all I can be.
Yeah. We normally wrap up with life advice. Wes, do you have any life advice for us?
Just do what you want to do, what you love to do, and you'll know when it's time to quit. Maybe. I haven't figured it out, but it's been a great life for me. I never chased the almighty dollar. I've had chances over the years to make more money, but I didn't want to have to quit doing what I was doing. When Tony Hazelwood was dying, he asked me to take his job as the foreman. And I thought about it, but I was wagon boss at that time, and he just wanted me to ride with him and kind of get the idea. But I told him I'd rather you to just get somebody else, pick somebody, let me stay, because we was cowboying every day. Catch a horse of the morning, change at noon a lot of times. In doing that, and it would have been more money, but it would have been a pickup job. And when I turned 65, there's a guy up there by Yellowstone. It had a 300 cow ranch. He offered me big money, just come up there. He said, if you don't like the cattle I've got, we'll sell them. You just buy what you want. But my wife didn't want to move that far off. And the same thing when I had to move to Whiteface. Mr. Biggs died, and there's a big changeover. Dick Yeager and Boots took over, and so they told me, you can move to Whiteface or the kayak camp, or move on down the road. And now Boots didn't tell me that. Yeager's one that told me, but they wanted to change, and I don't blame them. They want their own people in there. But I was kind of ticked off about it. And I knew the TOs was looking for something. I knew the people that had that. And I called old TL. He said, yeah, you can sure have the job, but me and Pat talked a little bit, well, let's just tough it out here and see what, till the girls get out of school. So
58 years later.
Don King was head of the cattle racers. Did you know Don?
No, sir.
Well, when that old inspector there, Clarendon, died, and I was running the wagon down here then, but he called me 2 or 3 times, wanting me to come up there and just take it. It was just an inspector job then, you just, well, I wasn't about to do that, but what I'm trying to say is, I guess, that I was satisfied with what I was doing. Wasn't getting rich. We already talked about ranchers, cowboys don't get rich, but we just hung in there, and finally in 2016, after Cronky bought it, he bought it February 2016, and I stayed. His manager wanted to get rid of some of them horses, so we had a big sale down there at Ardmore. I stayed through that, helped Trace kind of get them ready for that. And so I left the 1st of May, I guess, 2016. And went right on up there and started working for Reggie, day working. Dang, me and Navajo have been to New Mexico, South Dakota, 2 ranches in Montana, 3 in Wyoming, and 2 in Nevada, just with 4.6s. That's where I'd say, I guess, how do you quit?
Yeah. What do you got?
I guess you don't quit, do you?
Yeah.
Till they put you in a box, huh?
Yeah.
Got to keep going.
Yeah, I guess whatever suits you.
Yes, sir.
Then you can chase cows on 1,000 hills after that.
Say that?
Then you can chase cows on 1,000 hills.
Yeah. Be smooth going, won't it?
I think so.
Lord, I hope. Lord willing. You got life advice?
I'm same as him. Whatever you do, what you want to do, figure out what you like and do it wholeheartedly. And I would just dare you to, if you don't seek the Lord, try to seek the Lord. And if you hadn't tried it, try it. Find you, do something different. Even if you feel like you're doing good right now, don't get stuck in the rut of it's always going to be this way.
Yeah.
Just believe that there's more. And 1 Corinthians 2:9 says, no eyes seen, no ears heard, no heart of man can imagine the things that the Lord has prepared for us. So,
yeah,
whatever you're doing right now, give it all you got and seek the Lord and try to live to be 93, I guess.
Yeah. Keep ranching. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that bull.
Yeah. Can't wait to see the videos. Y'all be looking for MJ, come off the Smith Cattle Company.
Yeah. Well, I just got a text back. I was checking my timer just now, and JB said, bring him. So we're going to go buck him at Bucktown tonight.
Let's go. Give him a little water first.
Gonna buck old Blackie
Yes, sir.
tonight?
If I can find a rider, I'll put a rider on him. Otherwise, we'll just use the dummy.
Oh, I see.
Yes, sir. Might just put a dummy.
You think he'll buck?
I don't know. I really don't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't.
I don't think he's gonna, but I think he's gonna be trying to hook whoever's on him
Yeah.
while they're on him and when he gets off.
Yep. On to the next one. Thank you, guys.
Thank
you
you.
bet.
Pow,
Thank you.
pow. Yes, sir, Wes.